Hey everybody, welcome to Friday's edition of Parlays. I'm Jim News with the amazing, the one, the only Chris King. We finally got here, Chris. Madness is about to end, and although it's in New Orleans, so I doubt that Madness will actually end for a while. But
it never ends in New Orleans.
It never ends in New Orleans, yeah. What happens in New Orleans, it's like Vegas. What happens in New Orleans stays in New Orleans. But besides the good food and the great music, we got some decent basketball teams playing this weekend.
That's true. I mean, let's face it, it's a little disappointing to see four blue bloods playing in this late in the season because everybody likes to see different teams. But as you know, fate would deal it out. Miami played good basketball for 20 minutes. Unfortunately, basketball is a 40-minute game.
Right.
Getting up the board 15-15 in the second half or whatever it was kind of derailed Jim Larinaga's chances. Nobody expected St. Peter's to be here.
Nope.
Of course, nobody expected St. Peter's to be anywhere past round one. And then, you have to feel bad for Villanova losing Justin Moore to that torn Achilles. That's going to be a big blow for them. And Kansas is
Kansas,
right?
Yeah.
And the Mike Krzyzewski true Hollywood story rolls on.
Right. Yeah. The movie, yeah. Just a little note here of interest, and that is that obviously the games are going to be on TBS because that's how the package goes. It flips back and forth between CBS and TBS, but the directing of the show is going to be by Bob Fishman, and Bob's a great guy. This is his last. He will be retiring after this. It'll be his 39th year with CBS Sports. He's done every Final Four that they've ever done. He's done football's Super Bowl. He's done the U.S. Open. He's pretty much done it all. So kudos to Bob.
Only on CBS.
Right, on CBS. And on Saturday night, you'll hear, "Hello, friends, it's Jim Nance." It'll be Jim, it'll be Clark, and it will be, of course, I think Reggie, right? Yeah, probably Reggie Miller.
I still want to have onions.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. How could I? Bill Rafferty. How could I forget Raff? He will be there. So the gang will be all ready to play. And speaking of ready to play, we're almost ready to play. But first, we have something we want to get in, and that has to do with our buddies at, of course, you got to know it, Caesar Sportsbook. So, what do we got from Caesar Sportsbook? Well, Caesar Sportsbook is going to give you $1,100 in first bet insurance. Place a first-time wager of up to $1,100 and get it back in the form of a free bet if you lose. Now, you have to use the promo code, which is right there in front of you, and as we said before, it's the first time, bet from the standpoint of you got to use your phone there for the Caesars app. And as we always say, gamble responsibly, and by all means, you have to be 21 years or older. All the information on this cool deal is in our show box below. And my hope is that I have enough voice to get me to our next slide. And then we'll move over to Chris. Let's talk about the first game, Villanova and Kansas.
Right. Obviously, Villanova took a bad beating with the loss of Justin Moore, like we just talked about moments ago. That torn Achilles late in the game in the Elite Eight against Houston. Mm-hmm. That's going to be a big blow for them. Kansas has been riding the Ochai Agbaji and Christian Braun trade most of the season.
Yeah.
They had Remy Martin step up in the tournament against Providence and against Creighton. He didn't really do a ton against Miami, of course, because why would he, you expect somebody to do something because they played well for a couple of games and then they turn around and do nothing. It's going to be interesting because Kansas is a team that likes to push the tempo. They're 61st in the country in adjusted tempo, according to KenPom. 69.5 possessions a game. Meanwhile, Villanova, with Jay Wright, likes to take all the air out of the ball and, make it seem like you're playing with a rock. They're 345th in that category at 62.6 possessions a night. Without more, you have to wonder, will Villanova slow it down even further and try and make Kansas work on every possession? I know Moore, not necessarily a big defensive weapon, but he was a good offensive player, averaged more than 15 points a game during the season, knocked down 83s for Villanova. It's going to put a lot more pressure on Colin Gillespie to be better than what we've seen him play in the tournament, because he's had his issues shooting the basketball. The one thing about Villanova is they're an experienced team. You look at their lineup, Gillespie's a senior, Samuels is a senior, Slater is a senior, Caleb Daniels that comes off the bench as their sixth man, who might end up starting now, is a senior. Archie Diacono is a junior. He doesn't play a whole lot, but, it's in the bloodline because, remember, his brother, Ryan Arcidiacono, had success here a few years ago helping Jalen Brunson and company win the title. Kansas, give Bill Self credit. He's gotten this team to where they are. They struggled in the first half against Miami. They put together a solid second half in that game, like we said. At the half, they were down 35-29, and then they outscored Miami 47-15 in the second half, as the Hurricanes couldn't get out of their own way, much less make a basket. The one thing that Villanova is going to have to do, they can't fall in love with the perimeter shot, because they haven't been good with it here in the postseason. But they're going to have to find ways to score. Neither team has a ton of height. You look, Gillespie 6'3", Samuels is 6'7", Dixon is 6'8", Slater is 6'7" for Villanova. And on the other side, Braun is 6'6", Agbaji is 6'5", Martin is only 6 feet tall. Might be a chance for Kansas to try and use David McCormick more, because McCormick has been quiet in the playoff, or well, not the playoffs, but the tournament. At 6'10" and 250, you would like to think that, he would have the ability to do some damage inside due to the size advantage he has. Now, whether Bill Self utilizes that or not remains to be seen. You have to lean towards Kansas, because it's tough to replace a guy this late in the season and replace the kind of production that Moore put out there on a nightly basis. But if there's a guy that can do it, if there's a guy who can find a way to make things happen, it's Jay Wright. Everybody knows what Villanova's done in recent years in the tournament. And, Jim, I'm going to be interested to see what you think here.
I think that, what you're saying about Jay Wright is true. What Jay Wright does better than most coaches, and you got 4 great teams in there. You got one coach who's got a lot of experience, and Krzyzewski's 13, and Bill Self's got a lot of experience as well. Hubert Davis is not bad at Carolina, for sure. But if you watch Jay Wright is a very good, and this is something coaches, don't get a lot of credit for, game manager. And he's very good at realizing when things are moving in the direction that the team should be, and he lets that go. But when things are going a little bit awry, he can call that quick timeout, or he can make adjustments. Jay Wright makes adjustments in-game as well as any coach in college basketball. Now, does that make up for the loss, of his monster guy who really was, a key to? No. What it does do is it means, to your point, you said, Kansas is going to want to run. Villanova is literally going to want to take the ball and run out of the building. They don't want to play fast. They can't play fast. And if that's the case, then they'll be run out of the gym before they ever get started. But I do think that Jay and Villanova will keep it close. I don't know. I agree with you. I don't think they're going to win. But I would not be surprised if they threw, a hell of a scare into Kansas in the process.
Yeah, I think they can cover here. You look and just looking at the numbers on the season, Kansas was 7th in adjusted offensive efficiency, 18th in defensive efficiency. Villanova was 9th and 17th in those categories. So even though Villanova does not run, save their lives, they're very effective on the offensive end of the floor. And part of that comes down to our favorite stat when it comes to these kind of games late in the season: free throw shooting. Kansas 164th in the country at 71.9%. Villanova, number 1, knocking down 83% of their attempts this season. That's a huge disparity when you're getting to this point of the year, and Kansas is the worst of the 4 teams left, and it's not even really close. Duke is at 74.2%, which is 93rd in the country. North Carolina is at 76.5%, which is tied for 29th. So, if there's a way for Villanova to stay in this game, it's going to be Kansas bricking free throws late in the game when they can put it away.
Right.
And that's something you're going to have to watch out for. This one has the potential for a rock fight because Kansas is 27th in an effective field goal percentage defense, 36.1. Villanova comes in that category ranked 39th at 46.8. So don't expect a ton of baskets in this game necessarily.
So the under at 134 is not necessarily a bad thing.
No, I mean, Greg Peterson from Vision, has his number set at 130.5. So, I mean, he's expecting it to be even more of a rock fight. Now, I think it might be a little low, but I don't know if I think 134, it could end up something like, 68, 63 or 68, 65, something like that. So it's right around the 134 mark. But I'm not looking to see this game end up 80 to 70 or anything like that by any stretch of the imagination.
The T-Train says, as a UConn alumnus, I have tremendous amount of respect for Jay Wright. So it's Kansas or pass for me. I'm looking at the total. T-Train, I hope that you're going to be watching Gino tonight, right? Gino Oriena and his UConn women's team have booked their, what is it? I mean, it's some ridiculous number. It's like 14 or 15 consecutive Final Four.
I don't know, it's like 307.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, they just booked 3 other teams. They go, okay, UConn's in, we'll take the other 3 other teams. But, yeah, so T-Train, I hope you're going to be watching the Lady Huskies from UConn tonight because they definitely are.
Yeah, it'll be a good matchup with against Stanford. I mean, Stanford's a basketball team, too.
Yeah, Stanford's played well. And, you can't sleep on South Carolina because they're a fantastic basketball team. So there's a lot of good
Louisville. Louisville's no slouch either.
No, and Louisville's looking for their first ever women's championship. So they're
to answer your question, UConn's women's team has been in the Final Four every year since 07-08.
That's a couple of weeks.
Yeah, Final Four 08, won the title in 08-09 and 09-10, and they were in the Final Four again in 10-11 and 11-12. Won the title 2012-2013, 13-14, 14-15, 15-16. Then they were in the Final Four again 16-17, 17-18, 18-19. There was no tournament, of course, in 2019-20 thanks to COVID. Then they were back in the Final Four last year. The sad part is they've got 5 losses this year. It's tied for the most losses that Oriema's had going back to 04-05.
Come up and change your light bulb for you?
Yes, please.
There's that too. But hard to argue with a guy who's got a winning percentage of 88.4% while coaching at UConn and a conference winning percentage of 90%, 546 and 61 in the conference going back from of course, the Big East days, and then, the AAC, and then going back to the Big East last year. But that's a big trigger.
It's, he's the John Wooden of women's basketball. And we can't, you have to think also of the wonderful job that Pat Summitt did at Tennessee as well, because she had
Tara Vandermeer at Stanford.
Yeah, exactly. There's been some phenomenal coaches that have been overshadowed by, unfortunately, the men's tournament takes up a lot of oxygen, and
that's true.
So the women don't get a lot of from the standpoint of coverage that they should, and obviously Gino Oriena is is a master at getting his teams in there. There's another game on Saturday, which is tomorrow, and it's a backyard brawl. It's Duke and North Carolina, a couple teams you know pretty well. Being,
that's like
in
a
the
tobacco
Carolinas.
road rivalry here. I'm sure L.A. Bachelor is thrilled. Living in the middle of that, of course.
Well, he's a UConn grad too.
As a UConn fan, yeah. I know he was at the NIT final last night. Tim was right. Xavier managed to pull it out. Texas A&M, as Jim said in the pre-show, got Jimbo Fisher in the second half and beat themselves. But yeah, Duke, Carolina, let's face it, it's the 189th time that these two teams will meet on the hardwood. It's meeting one in the NCAA tournament.
Well, you figure with as many teams as those, many times that those two teams have been in the tournament, the fact that this is the first time they've ever met each other in the tournament is pretty wild. And to make it, into a national semifinal game is even more amazing.
Well, I mean, you have to remember, like we talked about before, back in the old days, before they expanded the field 35 times, only the conference champ would get into the field.
Sure, yeah.
So you remember when Norm Sloan took NC State with David Thompson? Look at all those teams that got left out. That now you can be below 500 in your own conference and get in. So this one's going to be interesting. It's the Mike Krzyzewski Magical Mystery Tour rolling on into New Orleans. Win, lose, or draw, it's going to come to an end here in the Big Easy, whether it comes tomorrow night or it comes Monday night.
Right.
Hubert Davis, they beat Duke at Cameron Indoor last month. The one thing that I will say about Carolina is they've got to take better shots. I saw some of the game against, not St. Peter's, but against UCLA, where they were just jacking up shots for the hell of it. And you can't do that in a close game, which you have to expect this one's going to be. I know that we saw two double-digit contests in the regular season, Duke winning by 20 in Chapel Hill, and then Carolina winning by 13 at Cameron Indoor. But this is a lot different situation than what we were talking about then. For one, like we've talked about before, you have to think the sight lines are going to be something that both teams are going to have to adjust to. You're not used to playing in a building like the Superdome by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, both teams played in the Carrier Dome at one point this season or in recent years. And that's probably about as close to a huge venue like this as you're going to get during the regular season. Duke has found themselves in the tournament. I mean, we talked about how the ACC was down and Duke looked bad in the tournament, losing to Virginia Tech, and we all thought Virginia Tech was going to do something in the tournament. Then they lost in the first round. Duke took out Cal State Fullerton. They took out Michigan State right down here in Greenville before moving on. And I thought they were going to lose to Texas Tech. I do think that they were helped by some missed calls, like when Jeremy Roach was 3 steps out of bounds with the ball and nobody saw it.
He was in the second row of seats.
Yeah, but again, nobody saw it, so it's like Bobby Heenan said, you only can't do it if you get caught.
Right.
And then they beat Arkansas. I guess they just failed to show up in the final few minutes of the first half, because that's what turned that game into a rout. Carolina, let's face it, they blew out Marquette.
Yeah.
Then they got by Baylor in a game that they tried to give away. I mean, they were up 25.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were up 25 midway through the second half. They're up 6 with 30 seconds to go, ended up in overtime. Then they had to rally to beat UCLA, and then they were fortunate because they didn't have to play anybody of substance in the regional final. I mean, I'm not going to take anything away from what St. Peter's did, beating Purdue and beating Kentucky and beating Murray State, but let's face it, there was no high seed on the other side of that bracket.
Right.
This is going to be a challenge for Carolina. I know that, like we said, they're a good free throw shooting team, but you have to wonder, will Brady Manick be able to keep his cool? Because, his ejection against Baylor is what turned the tide in that game. Neither team has a ton of experience. I mean, Manick and Leaky Black are the two seniors for Carolina, and Leaky Black is pretty much invisible on the offensive end of the floor. On the other side, Duke has got 37, McDonald's All-Americans that are freshmen.
Right.
You got Banchero, who whenever I listen to them talk about him, at least on the radio play-by-play, it sounds like they're saying his last name is Vampiro, and I'm thinking back to the bad WCW wrestler.
Right.
And I'm like, why is he on the floor? But then Griffin is a freshman, Keels is a freshman, Roach is a sophomore. Wendell Moore is the senior man in the starting five is a junior. And you got Joey Baker and Theo John as seniors, but they only play about 10 or 12 minutes a game. What's going to decide this game, I think, ultimately is going to be foul trouble. Who's going to end up having to sit their guys for long stretches because they take dumb fouls because they're over-amped for what this game is. Like Sly just said, Manick getting ejected changed the Baylor game on a dime, like we just talked about it. He said, Duke will go right at him. And that might not be a bad strategy. If you can get either Manick in foul trouble or get Manick to commit some stupid foul where he gets a flagrant or gets ejected or something like that, North Carolina might get rattled. I mean, Hubert Davis, as good as he's been, is a first-year coach. Krzyzewski's been there since, I think,
they built a school around him.
Since Moses parted the Red Sea.
Right.
His team isn't going to get rattled, as much as I hate to say it. Like T-Train said, North Carolina looks mighty tempting. I know Tim said he wants to see the Tar Heels win. Tim, I don't know if that's because, it's a geographical thing.
Right.
East Carolina, North Carolina.
Animus.
Would you root for Western Carolina if they were in this? Inquiring minds want to know. But it's going to be interesting. I think Carolina will hang around. I just don't know if they can make enough plays, especially with the way that Love was taking random shots and Davis was taking bad shots. You can't do that against Duke. Krzyzewski will find a way to shut down your strong points. Armando Bacot is going to have a massive game inside, and he could be neutralized by Mark Williams. And here's the thing that concerns me about Bacot is he's terrible when it comes to shooting free throws when the game's on the line. He blew multiple chances against Baylor. He was 7 of 15 from the stripe in that game. If I'm Duke late in the game, I'd make him beat me at the stripe rather than give him an easy basket.
Right.
He's shooting 67% at the line on the year. He's by far the worst free throw shooter on North Carolina because Love shoots 86.4, Davis shoots 82, Manick shoots 70.6, but he only took 68 attempts at the strike. Carolina's going to hang in. I just don't know with the way that Duke has played down the stretch after, they bounced back from that miserable showing against Virginia Tech. It just seems that this is scripted for, like I said, the Hollywood movie of the week where, they go through and be like Hard Knocks where they filmed everything that happened during the season, and at the end they'll have him cutting down the nets and leaving. That just seems to be the way this is going. I think that Duke will probably pull it out, which I'm not necessarily thrilled with. But what can you do?
Yeah, it's funny. A couple of friends of mine who were writers in New York, Dick Davidson specifically, saw Duke's first game of the season, which was played at the Garden, and said the way Duke played at the time, he said, there's a legitimate national championship team. And then during the middle of the season, he said, not so fast. Maybe I was a little too quick to anoint them. But when they play, they can play well. And just like you said, the thing that Krzyzewski does probably better than anybody else, and let's be honest here, John Wooden set the highest possible bar, bar that nobody's going to beat with 11 national championships. But Krzyzewski beat his Final Four record. So Krzyzewski's in the Final Four for the 13th time. The one thing that Mike Krzyzewski does better than anybody else is prepare his team for a game. That's Mike Krzyzewski. Never too high, never too low, even keel. They will be ready to play. Will they be, I don't know that they're as athletic as Carolina, but I do think that they're going to be more disciplined, and that might be to your point, that might be the way to do it. Go at the, Manic, not a bad idea. As a matter of fact, you might as well send that information down right now and say, hey, why don't you do it? That kind of stuff makes sense. For making Carolina go to the free throw line, that makes sense. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff here. There's a lot more reasons to like Duke in this, to me, than there is to like Carolina. Sorry, Tim.
And the T-Train said he hated Duke since Leitner beat UConn back in '92. Funny thing, T-Train, I know we've talked about it before, my wife and I are both from the hometown of Leitner back in western New York. Nobody likes him there either. So, I mean, there's that.
There's a universality.
Yeah, I mean, I never liked the way he played basketball. I see Sly saying the documentary on him, the I Hate Christian Leitner one, I think it was,
right.
30 was good. Leitner, he's a very polarizing figure in Duke basketball. The closest thing you could probably find to him since he left Durham was Grayson Allen, because Grayson Allen pulled some of the same stupid stuff that Leitner did, only he didn't bring back-to-back titles to Duke, so
right.
He's really not as highly regarded for it.
Yeah. But, Christian Leitner was, to me, and I'll get your opinion on this, was the college version of Bill Laimbeer. And, when you get Laimbeer in Detroit, nobody liked Laimbeer, except for the people in Detroit. Because he and Mahorn just basically, you came in there, you were going to be abused.
And don't forget John Sally.
Well, John Sally, yeah. But I'm just saying, in a specific person, Laimbeer he didn't care. He didn't care if Laimbeer was a perfect, you were talking about the WCW a few minutes ago. Laimbeer would have been a great wrestler. He'd have been a perfect heel. I mean, there's no question about that. Because people tended to dislike him for a lot of good reason. But, Christian Leitner did what he was supposed to do, and that was get you off your game. And
true, but I mean, stomping on a guy who's on the ground,
Again, I'm saying he was a heel. That's what his job was.
True, but I mean, it didn't help his image when he went to the NBA.
No.
And he didn't pan out as well, I think, as everyone expected.
No,
when he made that jump.
Sure. I mean, you play that well, and you're expected to accomplish something, and he didn't. By the time he got to the NBA, he was not a very accomplished, professional player. But
and like Michael said, if the threes don't fall for Duke, he can see North Carolina winning. And like he pointed out too before about when we were talking about Villanova, Kansas, it's a shame that Justin Moore got hurt because Villanova obviously would have had a much better shot if he was healthy.
Agreed. I wouldn't count them out, but yeah, absolutely.
Look at that. Sean said he took the 10-teamer that we had yesterday in the shot and dark, turned into a 9-teamer with alternate lines and hit it plus 2007. So,
tell you what, Sean, I'll tell you what. You send us that ticket, picture of it, to Chris's Twitter account, and we'll see if we can get you something from our friends here at Max Wagers. Maybe we can get you a T-shirt or something. Let me negotiate that. Send us that.
We're working on getting cool swag.
But we're not there yet, but it's coming soon. Anybody who watches this show and take something that Chris does and can send us a picture of your winning ticket, we'll put some pressure on the folks to get you some swag. Okay, so do that for us. Okay.
Yeah, they're going to have cool swag too. And like I said, Leitner was also on the Olympic team in '92, which he said was a joke, and I agree. I mean, I didn't think that they were going to bring a collegiate onto the dream team, and it seemed weird when you watched the '92 Olympics, watching Leitner on the floor with Barkley and Malone and Bird.
All right, I will tell you Charles' story as to why Leitner was on the team. I don't know that this is true, but who am I to contradict a Chuck Barkley story? It was decided that they wanted a college player on the team. It was decided that Christian Leitner would be perfect because his whole purpose on the team was to take care of anything. If Charles needed laundry sent out, Christian Leitner would go take it and pick it up. So, for all intents and purposes, Christian Leitner was the gopher on that team. And so, he was like the tallest manager that you could think of for a team. So,
it reminded me of King of the Hill when Bobby Hill wanted to work at the racetrack, and he was the go-to guy. Is it go-to, get me a soda?
Right, yeah. So, there's a lot of King of the Hill in that. But that's Charles' story, and I have no reason to doubt it. But, yeah, he did make the team, and he was the definite guy who was the go-for guy, as you just said. So there you go.
AJS said he needs a Just Parlay shirt, so we need to get that rolling.
We're working on the swag there, guys.
And Michael asked if he can get cool swag for crashing through a table like the Bills Mafia. Well, if he crashed through the table,
send the video.
Oh yeah, and if you want to get bonus points, make sure it's a flaming table, because that'll be just like then you can mix in Bills Mafia and professional wrestling all at once.
I was going to say, flaming
table. You can be
table.
like Engine Mick Foley at WrestleMania, and I know, Michael, you were around when we talked about WrestleMania yesterday with Scott, David. So a lot of those people don't understand channeling the living legend Larry Zbyszko. They don't understand the way that professional wrestling has built on itself. Ryan, we do have hockey picks.
Yeah,
by the way,
get there.
sorry the Sharks lost yesterday. I was disappointed that they fell to Arizona.
Yeah, where was Ryan when they won?
He was happy when we picked them the other night, and they lost to Arizona.
No, but didn't they win the other day and he wasn't here?
No, it went over when they
lost
that's
to
Arizona.
Right. But they won something.
Because it was the last
we predicted something for them, and they. I thought he would at least be here to bask in the glow of that. So, all right, well, we got some time to do some hockey and some basketball. We'll just.
Ryan said our season is over. He's waving the white flag on the Sharks. By the way, Sly, sorry about Winnipeg yesterday. I admit I was concerned when I turned on the game 8 minutes in, and it was 2-0.
Yes, I would do it.
But after that, I guess Toronto woke up.
Yeah.
So that was a plus for me, not so much for you.
Right. Holy mackerel.
Yeah, I saw that Suzuki got his first homer the other day, Michael. I'm just hoping that I saw an article in the 538 today that the Cubs actually have the most added wins above replacement from last season to this season based on what they brought in versus what they lost. But considering that we traded everybody before the end of the season, it kind of made that an easy fact. I'm hoping that this year will be better than last. I don't know if we'll get back to the playoffs this year. I mean, anything's possible. Milwaukee's pitching could take a dump. St. Louis didn't really do anything in free agency, and the less we talk about the Reds and the Pirates, the better it is for everybody, because those two teams were terrible. And so we'll see how it plays out. But hey, baseball season, less than a week away. We'll be talking about it. And make sure, if you guys haven't signed up already, that the Winners and Whiners baseball betting preview guide coming out next week will be over 100 pages, jammed full of all kinds of stuff for you guys to read and put to use as the season wears on. We got team previews. We've got award race previews. We've got everything in there. It'll be coming out next week, and it won't cost you a dime. All you got to do is sign up. I think Jim's got the link down there in the show box.
Yes.
So make sure you check it out. Get yourself signed up and get yourself that magazine so you will be ready for baseball season next week.
And it's going to show you how to bet baseball, because some people don't know how to bet baseball.
Yeah, and, Detroit Lenny would tell you bet the Tigers first 5 every time.
Because of the relief pitching?
Yeah, because the relief pitching is that bad.
Okay.
So watch out for that.
Oh,
But definitely, that guy next week, or next. I think it's coming out Wednesday on the 6th.
It'll come on between either in the 5th or the 6th, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I just saw where Jacob deGrom will not be pitching until at least May. So.
I thought they said he had tightness in his shoulder and he wasn't pitching today, but that just goes to show you that I was right to fade deGrom as the top option for the NL Cy Young. Of course, he missed the second half of last season.
Right.
So watch out for that.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we got some time.
Pressure on Scherzer and company.
Damn, Mad Max, my man. All right, we got some time to blow through some of this stuff. Let's head for where you want to go, Chris. You tell me.
I'm open.
Okay.
If we want to talk about the TBC.
Yeah, we'll fly through this one.
Here. Fresno State and Coastal Carolina. Cliff Ellis looking for his 20th win of the year. This game was supposed to be yesterday. They moved it to today because Fresno State apparently couldn't get a flight. You figure it out. Apparently, nobody wanted to fly them. Fresno State 307th in scoring offense. Don't expect a ton of points. Coastal Carolina is 126th in scoring offense, 72.8. Both teams are very good on the defensive end of the floor. Coastal Carolina 45th in scoring defense at 64.7 points a game. They're 5th in field goal percentage defense at 38.5. Fresno State is 4th in the country when it comes to keeping teams off the board. Allowing just 59 points a game. They suffocated Southern Utah in the semifinals, giving up just 48 points in that contest. En route to a 67-48 win. I think that the defense is going to be the name of the game here. I know that the travel is going to be weird for Fresno State, coming all the way across the country to go to Conway. Coincidentally, the home of Vanna White, in case anybody watches Wheel of Fortune.
That's nice to know.
Yeah, I think this one's going to be interesting. I just think that Fresno State, Orlando Robinson, was in the running as a Player of the Year candidate that nobody talked about because, hey, he plays for Fresno State.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that Robinson and Justin Hudson's team a little bit too experienced for Coastal here. Robinson and Stroud and Isaiah Hill and Jordan Campbell and Anthony Holland, those guys find a way to scratch out a win in what's going to be a defensive struggle for sure. Look for them to hoist the inaugural TBC championship trophy, whatever that looks like. It might be a ham sandwich or something.
It'll be Carolina barbecue. There you go. All right, let's fly on to the NHL. We got a bunch of people. Ryan, Zach, they all want to talk about some stuff. Let's throw Ryan up here quick. Well, first, Preds and Knights tonight. He thinks that's going to be a good parlay.
My concern is watch out with the Preds. They might be looking ahead a little bit. They're facing a Sabres team that, as bad as Buffalo's been, they're 4-0-3 in their last 7. And it's also Rick Jeanneret night at the KeyBank Center. Jeanneret has been the Sabres play-by-play man since the franchise started in 1970. He's retiring at the end of the season. They're raising his jersey, which is going to be a microphone for the number, to the rafters tonight. So it might be one of the bigger crowds that Buffalo has seen all year outside of when Toronto comes to town.
What do you think of Zach's 3-prong plan here? I
like the Oilers. I like the Rangers. The the Rangers are a little bit scary because they're playing the Islanders. And last time we talked about that, they died on us.
Mm-hmm.
And the Ducks over 6. Well, I mean, Anaheim's playing the second game of a back-to-back. They lost last night in overtime 3-2 to Dallas. It's supposed to be Stolars and Vejmelka's making his 7th straight start for Arizona. You're putting a lot of faith in the Coyotes and the Ducks to put goals on the board. I know Arizona put 5 on the Sharks the other day, but in their 4 games before that, they put up 1, 1, 2, and 2. And going back even further, they put up 2 and 1. So they had 6 straight games with 2 or less before meeting the Sharks the other night. Anaheim's last stretch of games here: 2-2, 1-2, 3-0, 3-3, 1-1. So they're not showing a ton of offense either. So let's see what they've done against each other.
Michael, by the way, hang in there, buddy. Tampa Bay and the Rangers are coming up next, so we'll get to you in just a second. And
yeah, last meeting between these teams was 6-5 in overtime, but that was back in December.
Mm-hmm.
Over is 5-4 and 1 in the last 10 meetings. I just don't know if the Ducks have it in them, or the Coyotes. The under's 3-0 and 1 in the Ducks' last 4, and 3-0 and 1 in their last 4 against the West. Arizona, let's see. Well, the over's 5-1 and 1 in the last 7 in Arizona. I'm just not convinced, especially now with Arizona without Clayton Keller, who broke his leg this week, crashing into the boards. That's a tough one. I mean, I could see this game being, 5-3 or something like that, but I could also see it being 2-1 or 3-2. That's the tough part with some of these totals, is because you've got 2 bad teams that don't have a ton of clear-cut offense. You look at Anaheim is 24th in goals per game. The Coyotes are 30th. I'd probably be more inclined, if I was going to go with an over, I would probably ride the over with Nashville and Buffalo, because you look at those 2 teams lately, and Vegas has gone over in 8 of their last 10. Buffalo has gone over in 4 of their last 5. For some reason, both those teams have been scoring lately. But definitely, I like the first 2 legs of it. The third one, it's hard to judge with bad hockey teams, especially this season.
They can get sloppy and all kinds of goals can be scored, or they could just actually be smacking the thing off of the dasher boards. Parlay, Ducks, Coyotes, we just talked a little bit about that. A lot of Lightning questions coming in. And guess what? We just happen to have the Lightning coming up next.
And we'll just touch on this quickly. Vegas has won all 3 meetings with the Kraken. They blanked them the other night 3-0. Seattle doesn't score much. They don't stop the puck from going into their own net. They're 7-25 in their last 32 as an underdog. They're 2-12 in their last 14 as an underdog at home. Vegas needs this win to solidify where they're standing in the playoffs. Seattle just wants this season to end, so they can go and draft people. I'm going to take Vegas.
There you go. And now, for all of you, Michael, Nathan, and the gang who want to know about the Lightning and the Blackhawks,
Tampa Bay is going to win this game. I mean, let's face it. Chicago played last night in Florida. They scored nothing. Now they have to go face Tampa Bay. We know how well Vasilevsky plays at home in his career. He's 34-14 and 4 this season overall, 237 goals against. The Blackhawks 26th in goals for, 25th in goals against. Tampa Bay's 10th in goals for, 8th in goals against. Lightning 9-3 in their last 12 on 2 days of rest. They're 8-3 in their last 11 after a win. All those numbers about Chicago say that Chicago is a bad hockey team. 13-43 in their last 56 against teams with a winning record. 1-6 in the second game of a back-to-back in their last 7 outings. 1-6 in their last 7 against the East. 1-6 in their last 7 against the Atlantic Division. 3-13 in their last 16 meetings at the Amalie Arena. If that wasn't bad enough, the Blackhawks 8-24 in their last 32 matchups with Tampa Bay overall.
We have an NBA question coming in from our buddy Nathan. I'm sorry, I missed this. From my bad. Hang on. That's okay, James. By the way, that's what James wanted to know, fellas. Would you take the Pacers 15 points and the Celtics today?
I wouldn't touch the Pacers if you paid me. We faded Indiana repeatedly in this back when they still had players. Looking at the injury report, Bizanzi is questionable again. I know he played the other night. O'Shea Brissett's questionable. Brogdon is questionable. Jackson is questionable. Duarte's out. Of course, Turner's done for the year. Boston, I know they don't have the Time Lord, but they're also pissed off that they only scored 98 points in losing to the Heat the other night in a game that could mean a lot when you get to the postseason standings, because that loss dropped them back to 2 games behind Miami instead of 1.
Right.
Of course, Philadelphia losing last night to Detroit, which we said take the Pistons and the points. I didn't think they'd win outright, but that just made it even better. The Philadelphia loss pushed Boston into the 3rd seed and into the top spot in the Atlantic by half a game. This is a key point for Boston. I think they're going to put the boots to Indiana. Obviously, the Pacers have nothing to play for. They're eliminated from playoff contention. They were eliminated months ago, really. And we know who's going to be playing in the Eastern Conference playoffs because the Knicks are officially out of the postseason now.
Bye-bye, Knicks.
Yeah, I'd ride with Boston given the points. I mean, we've looked at Indiana playing bad basketball. And no problem, Zach. That's what we're here for. We're here to answer questions and do the best we can to help you guys to steal Steve's closing line. Help you be a winner at the window
today.
Well, that's true. I mean, I wouldn't want to necessarily be the 1 seed either. If Brooklyn gets in, but then again, we watched Brooklyn blow a lead last night against Milwaukee, which also benefited us because we said that Milwaukee was going to. We said take the points in the Bucks.
Michael LeBron's not playing tonight.
Oh, is he out again?
Well,
I saw you question.
They sent him back to Los Angeles to have his foot looked at.
Well, they're playing.
Go ahead.
They're playing in Los Angeles tonight.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I know. I'm just saying they sent him yesterday back to LA to have his foot looked at. What's the latest on it? The early thing I saw was he wasn't playing, but is he questionable now, or what are they doing?
Of course, he's trying to be funny on Twitter, saying I'm out for the season officially. See you all in the fall, because it's April Fool's Day, of course.
Right.
Last I heard, he was questionable. I'm looking to see if there's anything on here.
Michael, check back around 5 or 6 o'clock, buddy, because if he's going to play, that's when they'll tell you. But
it says that he and Davis are intending to play. Whether that actually takes place, they're expected to be in uniform.
Okay.
Of course,
that's good to know.
How many times have we seen them expected to be in uniform before?
Well, you can be in a uniform and sit on the bench all night.
That's true. I mean, we've seen plenty of guys get paid for that.
Right. The spread flipped to Pelicans at a drop at a point there. Oh, that's interesting. Thank you for sharing with that, Michael. Sharing with the class. We appreciate that.
Yeah, he's intending to play, but that doesn't mean a whole lot. The Lakers haven't submitted an injury report yet since they played last night. They're not. I don't think they have to until later this afternoon.
No.
They lost to Utah yesterday, so they're playing the second game of back-to-back anyway. And the Pelicans, they've played some decent basketball if you get right down to it. Since they got McCollum and everything else, they've managed to put together some cohesion. Just like a look here, the Lakers in the second game of back-to-backs this season, 2-8. They score 110.8 in those games. They give up 113.5. New Orleans has been off since they beat Portland the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I'd still take the Pelicans. I mean, we say it's a full-time job fading the Lakers. And, the Lakers, I know
and
they
even
need
at
that.
home.
Yeah, I know the Lakers need this game because of the fact that they've fallen down to 11th in the standings West. They stand currently. They're even with the Spurs with 6 games to go, but San Antonio has the tiebreaker advantage. So there's that. Just looking, both teams have 3 games left at home, 3 on the road. The Spurs have been terrible at home, so they'd probably rather play on the road. The Lakers have been mediocre everywhere, but they're 11-27 as the visiting team this season. New Orleans has moved up to 9th in the West.
Yeah,
so,
they've popped up there quick. Devin has a question there for you, Mr. Chris. This is his first time placing a parlay bet he'd like to win. By the way, we all like to win our no matter what time, but thanks anyway, Devin, for that. So what do you think, buddy? If you had to give him... Look, let me just say this right off the bat, Devin, buddy. We don't give locks. We're not these people that say, this is, an ironclad, go to it, that's it. That's why you give you so much different information.
The Scott Van Pelt show going, it's the stone cold lock of the century.
Right. Right.
But, we're going to do our best to help you. I know we've had quite a few hand out this week. We saw Ron talk about that he had a 9-teamer that cashed out. Euler had a big one, what was it, yesterday?
Yeah.
So we'll do our best, and we've got those coming up here in just a couple minutes. So stay tuned.
Let's go for 2 for the show.
Oh, you don't want to talk about the NBA?
Well, we're up against a little bit of a time thing here, so.
Okay, well, the NBA, Phoenix is playing Memphis.
Go ahead and give us the elevator pitch on the 2 NBA.
Yeah, the Suns are playing Phoenix, or if you look, Memphis is, I think, ruled out like half their roster because they don't really care at this point because they know they're going to get a high seed. Steven Adams is doubtful. Desmond Bain is doubtful. Jaren Jackson is doubtful. Tyus Jones is doubtful. Morant is out. Suns are going to get Cameron Johnson back tonight and JaVale McGee. I think Phoenix will win in Memphis and then go feed the Ducks at Peabody. And then the other one I had on the board for the NBA was Denver and Minnesota. The Nuggets are playing at home. I know Tim's riding the Nikola Jokic triple-double train. Denver plays well, is decent at home. Minnesota has been down a bit of late. And Minnesota struggles defensively. They're 1-8 in their last 9 as a road underdog. 2-8 in their last 10 against teams with a winning home record. And 1-4 in their last 5 against teams with a winning straight-up record. Just taking a quick look here. Blake Beasley out for Minnesota. The usual suspects for Denver. JaMychal Green is questionable with wrist sprain. But in the end, I think Denver's the better team. And anybody that was going to bet on the Clippers-Milwaukee game, make sure you read the injury report.
God love you.
Because the Clippers have announced they're sitting Paul George, Reggie Jackson, Marcus Morris, and Nick Batum. So 4 of their starting 5 are going to be sitting out. Brandon Boston also out with a non-COVID illness. The Clippers have clinched a play-in berth, so they don't really care. They know they're going to be playing to try and, extend their season. But they know that they're going to be in at least one of those playing games. They're currently 8th in the West. But without all those guys, I expect the line will probably jump. Of course, the Bucks have ruled on Giannis and Middleton. So, it's a battle of the backups.
So, the question...
In that case, I'm going to leave.
Crack Reach Department here has had an answer from Mike's question. Which,
the last defending champion missed the playoffs the next season.
It only happened 4 times.
Let's see.
Well, 5 times, I'm sorry. Yeah, it happened.
Sure.
It was 98, 99 Bulls, 98, 99 Bulls, and was it 2019? The 2019-2020 Warriors. I think. Let me make one last look real quick. Stand by. Stand by. Everyone, stand by. Stand by. Stand by. Standing by.
In 2014-15, had gone to the finals 4 straight years and won 2. They had lost to the Spurs that year before. And LeBron left to go to the Cavs, or back to the Cavs, and then they missed the playoffs. Then you have the 04-05 Lakers. They lost to the Pistons. That team with Ben Wallace and Darko Milicic and Rip Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
Then Peyton and Shaq got traded. Malone retired. Then they only won 38 games and didn't make the playoffs.
There you go.
Last team to win a title, to not go back, you got to go way back to 1998-99.
The Bulls.
The Bulls.
Yeah.
They traded Scottie Pippen. Jordan retired for the second time, third time, whatever it was. They ended up going 13-69.
Yeah, I think Dennis was going off that team, right, too? Didn't he?
Pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had their top 2 players were Harper and Tony Kukoc.
That's all you need to know about that.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, it pretty much tells you. All right, let's go for 2 for the money, gang. We got it here before we bump into Lenny and Tim. Yeah. All right, here we go.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Tampa Bay and Vegas as the 2-teamer there, and I'm going to go on the other side. The Suns, we talked about,
Mm-hmm.
the ruling out half their team. And the Raptors over Orlando, this is a win that Toronto has to have. Orlando, let's face it, the Magic are just waiting for the season to end so they can go to Disney World. The Raptors are clearly the better team here. Just checking to see. Orlando won't have Wendell Carter Jr. listed as questionable. Jalen Suggs will not play. The Raptors look pretty much at full strength outside of Malachi Flynn.
Well, the good news for the Magic is they don't have to go far to get to Disney World, so there's that.
So, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, there you go. All right, 4 for the show.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Boston over Indiana. We talked about it. I just think that the Pacers are a train wreck mixed with a dumpster fire sprinkled in with Chernobyl.
Ooh, that money line is wicked.
Yeah, there's some worse ones too, trust me. I'm going to go with the Mavs over the Wiz. The Mavs still trying to fight for home court advantage in the opening round of the playoffs. The Wiz, of course, won't have Kyle Kuzma again. I'm thinking he might be done for the year at this point.
I think you're right, yeah.
Since the Wiz are out of playoff contention. I'm going to go with the Rangers over the Islanders, like we had talked about before. I'm going to take the Nuggets over the T-Wolves, as I mentioned briefly. I just think Denver's the better team, especially playing at home.
All right, now, here we go, folks. Now, as we said before, the shot in the dark is, this is where you take one, take 2 of them, 4 of them, whatever, but, it's up to you. And this is where, Devin, you might be able to find something that you like, buddy. All right, so give it a shot. And we start with Fresno State, which you've already talked about. And
for that game, the edge over the total. It's not going to get much past 130 if it even gets that high, but I think they'll get past 126 and a half. The Pistons, we talked about them yesterday. They beat somebody. They beat the 76ers. Now they get to play the Thunder. Now, I know that I'm going against my own rule of not picking the Pistons when they're favored, because whenever we do that, they inevitably find a way to blow the freaking game.
Right.
The good news is they're playing an Oklahoma City team that has literally no players, because they've ruled out Gilgeous-Alexander and Darius Bazley for the year. They're also minus Lou Dort, Derek Favors, Josh Giddey, Ty Jerome, Trey Mann, Mike Muscala, and Kendrick Williams. So basically, if you're anywhere near the Paycom Center tonight in Oklahoma City and you show that you might be able to shoot a ball or you're tall, the Thunder might sign you on a 24-day or a 24-hour contract.
This is the NBA version of IUPUI.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
The Pistons won't have Marvin Bagley, Hamidou Diallo, Jeremy Grant, I think, is done for the year. Kelly Olynyk is supposed to get rested. Be the second game of back-to-back. But hey, they got Cade Cunningham and Sadiq Bey and those guys, and I think that's still better than Oklahoma City.
Mm-hmm.
The Kings and the Rockets, these teams played the other day, and the Kings won then. Hey, why not take it to win 2 in a row? These things happen once in a while. The Pelicans over the Lakers, I don't care who plays for the Lakers. There's no bad
fading. Yes.
Yeah. You might as well just put a giant stamp on it. I'm going to take the Coyotes over the Ducks. I mean, we've talked about the Ducks have lost double-digit games in a row. They lost last night. They're playing the second game of back-to-back. You have to go to Arizona.
You know what, Chris? I think that's your hat trick. I think that's the third time this season that you've put the Coyotes in the winning position.
Yeah, I know that happen often, but I mean, when you're a team like Arizona that's played so poor, or I'm sorry, like Anaheim's played so poorly of late, you have to fade the Ducks. I mean,
sure.
The Senators, I like this a lot better when Anton Forsberg was starting in goal. Apparently, reports have now come out that they're going to be starting Mats Sogard, who's going to make his first career NHL start in net tonight for the Sens.
I literally was going to say to you, who is that guy?
Yeah,
he's somebody.
He is.
Not the Zamboni driver.
Nope, he's from Denmark.
Okay.
He was a second-round pick a couple of years ago.
All right.
He's a big dude. He's 6'7".
Whoa.
205. He's not a guy you're going to try to run into by any stretch of the imagination. He was drafted in the second round of the draft in 2019. According to McKean's Hockey, Sogard moves well for his size, is quick in the butterfly, and is very athletic. Future consideration says that he has a massive lower half spread, and his upper body covers a huge portion of the upper net. So it could be an interesting night for the Red Wings trying to shoot on a guy that's, roughly the size of the goal.
Oh, man.
Then we've got the Blues and the Oilers. I'd like to go over 6.5. Let's face it, we've seen how Edmonton can score. We've all seen how Edmonton can give up goals.
Right.
And like earlier, Nashville and Buffalo over 6. Those teams have been over machines lately. Euler, I also agree. I think that the Rangers-Islanders game will end up under. We've talked about how Barry Trotz's team has struggled to score all season long.
Mm-hmm.
And the Rangers, they get good goaltending. Shesterkin's supposed to be in goal tonight. It's going to be a good matchup. But I think in the end it'll probably be 3-1, 3-2. Both teams played the third game in 4 nights here. So watch out for that taking a toll.
Real quick, before we plug our network here real quick. Do you think that the Rangers team that they have this year is, the best legitimate chance they have at a cup since '94?
Probably. I mean, they're very deep. They've got a good forward group. Their defense plays well with Fox, and they made some good acquisitions at the deadline.
Right.
Andrew Kopp was a nice pickup for them. It helps stabilize the bottom 6. They've got a good group with, Artemi Panarin and all those guys up front. And Shesterkin and Georgiev are one of the best 1-2 punches that you're going to find around the league right now. You need to have 2 goaltenders. I wish that, in Toronto we had 1. But so kudos to the Rangers. They did some smart things to bolster their team. They didn't make dumb knee-jerk reaction trades. And I think that'll benefit them down the stretch.
Yeah.
Whether they can get out of the East, because there's a lot of tough teams in there.
Yeah.
Will remain to be seen, but to answer your question, I think this is probably their best team since '94.
Well, they've played well. I've seen them a lot, and they seem to, every time I see them, they're good. You got to watch the entire team, folks. Starting with Midday Money, Sean Higgs. Saw him at noon today. Allie and Lenny show up at 1 to 2. They have a lot of fun. We're at 2 to 3 every day, so by all means, watch us. Back to the window with Scott and Scott coming up at 3. Game time. Decision with Nick, Tim, and Lenny at 5. Are you guys doing NASCAR today?
Yeah, we're doing it sometime around 4 or 4:15.
Yeah.
Whenever whenever they finish up, what they're doing there.
Tidy things up over on the other side. Where's NASCAR this week?
They're going to be at Richmond.
Oh, okay. All right.
So, a lot better than last week's race, where all we had to do all week was listen to Rachel talk about how he picked Ross Chastain at 40-1.
Well, they were in Austin on the F1 track.
Yeah, on that road course.
Yeah. There's I highly recommend, guys, if you get a chance to go on YouTube and take a look at the F1 track that's going to be used in Vegas. It is absolutely sick. It is fun, amazing. Just the idea of racing on part of the strip in Vegas is just amazing. And
they'll crash into a building.
Right, they'll hit the Ferris wheel or knock down the Statue of Liberty or something. There's all kinds of crazy stuff going on. But it'll be a lot of fun. All right, one last, any final questions before we get out of here on a Friday afternoon?
No, Slide said that he'll miss Andrew Kopp. He said he was a good foot soldier and a solid two-way player, and he'll miss him in Winnipeg.
Well,
and I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a good contributor on that team.
Nobody's going to argue about that one, guys. All right, Monday, we'll have a guest. We will talk baseball, and we'll also talk, by that time, there'll be a national championship to talk about. So we'll talk about that too. So, guys, have a good weekend. I hope that, we've given you all kinds of good information here. If you want Chris's personal picks, you can get them in the show box below. All you have to do is read the information, click on the link, it'll take you there. Chris did a great job of promoting the baseball book, which is free. Reserve yours now. Go down there, click on that one. And then, of course, we've always talked about Caesars Sportsbook and the deal that they have for you. By all means, check out our buddies at Caesars Sportsbook. So, all kinds of goodies down in the show box below. If you get a chance, because we always like to get a little bit of love here from the gang, hit that like button, and Ryan said the other day, give it a Will Smith slap if you'd like to, and then subscribe and hit the bell, because you want to know when we're on. We like to know when we're on. So it's 2 o'clock Monday through Friday, everybody. Have a great weekend. Chris and I'll see you again on Monday. And stay tuned for our boys on MWN2 going right now. Scott and Scott just started their show. So until Monday, for Chris King, I'm Jim Williams saying so long, everybody. We'll see you.